every choice you make, there are countless other realities where you make different choices. Imagine the power to move one person from one reality to the next.
You can do that?
Just say the word.
You tell me! Where did everybody go?
When are you finally going to wake up and realize he doesn't take care of his own? What do you know about me?
You're a fiend, a crook, a liar. Your goal? Misery.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Happy October. It is October, which for my dear friend and colleague, Brock Heasley, the writer-director of The Shift, doesn't mean a whole lot. He said it's still in the mid-90s there today. Here in Minnesota, it was a beautiful 73, 74 degrees. My wife and I were outside staining our deck. I thought I would highlight the deck in the background here. It's getting dark, so you're not going to be able to see it for much longer, but we've been hard at work doing that. Hard at work getting things rolling on The Shift. If you're brand new to The Shift, you may be wondering, what is this all about? First of all, if there are any newbies here tonight, your first time live stream for The Shift, let us know. Give us a comment that says, hey, first time attendee at The Shift, and you're going to have a bunch of friendly people say hello, give you a warm greeting. We like to keep this very close-knit and open, and we love meeting new people here. So thank you for joining us. The Shift is a feature film currently in development. We plan on going into production, which means shooting it in January of 2023. Hey, Australia! Welcome, Terry. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully everything is going well for you down under. And hello from Texas. A lot of friends in Texas, and I even said in the chat just before going on live, excited to see y'all. I picked up some of that lingo while being down there working on The Chosen. We shot a lot of The Chosen down there. So what is The Shift? The Shift is the story of a man who, after a tense encounter with a mysterious stranger with otherworldly powers, he is banished to a tyrannical parallel Earth where he fights to get back to the woman he loves. And yes, you saw my eyes darting. I was reading that. Those are Brock Heasley's words. And he is such a wordsmith that I wanted to get those right. And yeah, that is what The Shift is. It is a feature film based on a short film that was produced, directed, written, that Brock Heasley did pretty much everything that he could do for the short film. He even cast his wife as one of the characters in the short film. And those of you that have been with us for a while now, you know that his wife played the character Molly. And tell me in the chat, who plays Molly in the feature film, or who's going to play Molly in the feature film? Go ahead, I'll let you guys answer that question because I know so many of you are well aware of who that actor is. And that's a good time for me to tell you that anybody that leaves a comment tonight, any comment at all, you are eligible to win some merch. We're trying to shift it around, pardon the pun, to spread the wealth, so to say. So if you have won merch during live streams before, we're going to try not to let you win again. If we call you out and you say, hey, I already won, all the more power to you. We'll pass it on to the next person. We'll pay it forward, so to speak. So who plays Molly in the feature film? Yes, Kathy, you got it. I'm looking at Kathy's comment right there. Aaron Healy played Molly in the short film, and Liz Tabish will play Molly in the feature film. We happen to actually have a new cast announcement coming out tonight, too. We'll get to that very shortly. But I also have to say that we are over $800,000 now in our investment round. Yes, we are currently accepting investments, not donations, not contributions, actual investments. You can be an investor in a feature film. Go to angel.com/shift and you'll see our current progress. Yeah, look at that, $827,000. Let's keep that number inching up. This isn't a telethon. This isn't a pitch. This is simply letting you know that this is your opportunity to invest in the shift. One of the most frequent questions I got when I was a producer on The Chosen is, how can I invest in The Chosen? And after season 1, we didn't take any other investments. This is probably your only opportunity to invest in the shift. And this is a truth-affirming, light-bringing project that we think will have an impact. Look, first and foremost, it has to be entertaining. We're setting out to make an entertaining movie, and Brock Heasley has written a tremendously entertaining script. So let's get that to the level that it needs to be so that we can reach as wide of an audience as possible with this content. Sam, thank you for investing. Appreciate you so much. Again, angel.com/theshift if you want to invest. And yes, I know I use my hands a lot. I don't know precisely why that is. Maybe I can try to keep them down a little bit more. I get excited for these live streams. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. I'm excited that we're over 800,000 in investments, and that represents, what is it? Ryan, can you put that graphic back up on the screen? I like to acknowledge just how many people that is. Sometimes we get so focused on the dollar value, but that's over 1,500 people that believe in this project. And that doesn't include the people that have invested in previous rounds. Now, this probably, in all likelihood, is going to be the final round to invest. So angel.com/theshift. Cast announcement tonight. I'm having a tough time saying that word, apparently. Special guest, Erin Heasley. We've talked about her previously. She played Molly in the short film. She happens to be Brock's wife. She's going to come on and share something that hasn't really been shared publicly before. I'm even just getting caught up on some of these stories about what Brock and his family had to go through in order to make the short film and where we're at in the process. I may share a personal tidbit or two. There's some tragic history in my past as well. Brock is certainly going to share some very tragic history in his past. One more announcement quick. I'm asking favors. So if you have invested, so I saw a couple other comments. Thank you again so much for investing in the shift. We can't do this without you. If you have invested in the shift, I would love to hear why. Brock and I would love to hear why. The whole team, Ken Carpenter, our producer, wants to hear why. Matt and Dan, our composers, they want to know why. Liz Tabish, Jordan Walker Ross, Paris Patel, Rose Reed, Jorge Garcia, we all want to hear why you invested in the shift. So if you can do me a favor, get out your cell phone, put it in landscape mode, I like this, landscape mode, selfie mode, and record yourself 3 minutes or fewer. 3 minutes tops, 180 seconds. Don't go too much over that. And then just tell us why you invested in the shift, why you believe in this project. And when you do that, go to wetransfer.com. It's a website, it's free, wetransfer.com. And you can actually upload your video to that website. And there's a little box on the left-hand side of the screen. Great, the graphic is up there now. Click those 3 little dots in that circle, and you're going to select, oh, I can't remember what it's called. Okay, get transfer link. Instead of send email transfer, get transfer link. So you upload your file, WeTransfer is going to give you a link, and then you DM us. Send us a direct message on our Facebook page or our Instagram page. And we'll download your video and we'll edit it together and we'll show it in next week's live stream. So hopefully you're willing, by your submission of this video, you are hereby saying that you're willing to be featured in next week's Shift live stream and maybe something beyond that. So again, why did you invest in the shift? 3 minutes or less, landscape mode, wetransfer.com, get transfer link, DM us on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll use some of that footage next week during our live stream next week, which we'll talk about real soon. All right, with that, again, You can win merch tonight. Leave a comment, ask questions, plenty of opportunity to ask questions. And let's bring Brock in and let's get right to that cast announcement because I know so many of you are super excited about that. So Brock, what kind of exciting news do we have to share tonight? Who are we bringing on board? Brock Heasley, everybody.
We are bringing on board, first of all, hello, everybody. We are bringing on board the actor who's going to be playing Priya Nadir. Priya is a very special part. She is the wife of Rajit Nadir, who you may recall a couple weeks ago we announced is being played by Paras Patel. So this actor is going to be playing Paras's wife. And let's go ahead and let's bring her up right now. This is Justen Alexandra. And Justen is a British actor who has been making a name for herself across the pond, as they say. And she is very, very good. She recently starred with Rose Reed, who's going to play for us. She and Justen starred together in the movie Surprised by Oxford, which has not yet come out, but will be coming out soon. Justen lights up the screen, and rather than just say that and have you take it for me at my word, because I know probably a lot of you are not familiar with her work, The Shift will mark her first feature film or actually any production here in the United States. She's done everything exclusively in Britain so far. But rather than have you take my word for how great Justen is, we actually have a little clip from Surprised by Oxford that we want to show to you right now. So you can see Justen in action. And of course, you'll also see Rose, who's going to be playing Tina. So it's kind of a twofer scene right here. But this is Surprised by Oxford, hasn't come out yet. So this is a pretty unique opportunity to see a preview of a movie that hasn't come out, but also keep your eyes on Justen.
How does someone who believes in talking snakes get into Oxford?
You realize I'm religious.
Okay, well, you're different. He's smug. I'm allergic to smug. Say first, for heaven hides nothing from thy view.
Oh, if I'm being honest, I really struggle with William Blake.
How could I have been so wrong about him?
Blake?
Kent.
I've got to wash my hair. Oh, fun fact. India invented shampoo. Comes from the Sanskrit word shampoo, which means to massage.
Unrestrained lords of the world besides.
Every heart was a virgin once. And what's the problem with being a virgin anyway? Nothing. Unless you are one. You poor creature. The point is, we're different and we're still friends.
Who says I want to be his friend and try Songs of Experience?
What?
By Blake. It has some of his more accessible work.
Speaking of devout virgins, have a sudden urge to go to confession.
Father Michael.
I'd like to visit his parish on the cover of Night.
Lydia.
Nobody's safe from you. He's so dreamy.
I love that scene. That's a lot of fun, and I've actually seen the whole movie, and it's fantastic. And Justen is fantastic in it. I hope you're as excited as I am. When I picture Paras and Justen on the screen together, I get very, very excited. And so I'm so thrilled to have Justen come aboard this film. We just actually closed the deal with her today. So I'm kind of on cloud nine that we get to play with her. Diane says, "Welcome to the team, Justen, and to the U.S." Yes, this will be her. I don't know if it's her first time stateside, period, but at least it'll be her first time working here in the United States. I'll have to ask her about that when I get a chance. Kara says, "Welcome, Justen." Justen, I don't know if she's watching or she'll ever see this, but you're going to find the Shift fan base to be very welcoming, and I'm sure all of you will fall in love with her when you see her on screen. Priya is such it's not a giant part in the film, but it's such an important part. It's a crucial part, and I cannot wait to see how her relationship with Rajit, Justen, and Paras together, kind of they have a little bit of a playful banter that they get to have, and I think that stuff is just going to come off really well. I think you've already seen in that clip how good Justen is at that sort of thing, and of course the character in The Shift will be very different from the one that she played in Surprised by Oxford. So just real quick though, I mean, Justen is only the latest actor to join The Shift. Let's take a look. This is the graphic that we have on our website and on angel.com/The Shift, and we're updating it tonight. This is what's going to look like in about 15 minutes. This will go live. So we've already cast Elizabeth Tabish as Molly Garner, Jorge Garcia as Ramirez, Rose Reed as Tina, Paris Patel as Rajit Nadir, Jordan Alexandra, brand new tonight, as Priya Nadir, and Jordan Walker Ross as Brendan, the jerk boss from the short film. So that's who we've got so far. You'll notice there are some other blank spots in that graphic, and we're going to be filling those in as we go. Are all of them going to be filled in before our crowdfunding is all done? Probably not. But they are going to be filled in the near future, possibly some before we're done with this crowdfund. So I kind of need you to use your imagination a little bit. If you're wondering, if you're trying to say to yourself, oh, I might invest, but I really want to see who's going to play the benefactor. I really want to see who's going to play Kevin. That might not happen. It could happen, but it might not happen before the investment period is over. So what I can tell you is that we are being very aggressive with who we cast in those parts. And you can interpret that the way that you want. I think that those parts are going to be very exciting, whoever they are. And if you're waiting to see that, I would recommend not. Now is the time to come in. You don't want to be like, I believe, thousands of people today are saying to themselves, man, I wish I had invested in The Chosen when I had the chance, because that chance is long gone. And at some point in the very near future, I believe, probably in about 2 weeks, that opportunity to invest in the shift will also be gone and done with. So if you think you might want to come in, now is the time. Angel.com/the shift, and you can see so much more there. We have other videos, the animatic, all kinds of information there. You can see who else is on our team, like Dallas Jenkins and Beverly Holloway, the casting director from The Chosen. We've also got her with us, helping us cast this movie. And as you can see how great a job she's doing so far. But anyway, that's all of that. Okay, so the big thing tonight is that this is the heart of the shift. That's what this live stream is all about. And that's what I want to get into now. There is the story of the shift, and it's a compelling story, and that's the reason why over 1,500 people on this round have invested, and over 3,000 people from previous rounds have also invested in the shift. But the thing is there's also a really compelling story behind the shift, and how it came to be. I mean, honestly, like, it could be its own movie. It really could someday. Maybe that's me because it's my own life and it just seems exciting, but it's pretty dramatic. What I want to do tonight is I want to tell you some of that story. And some of this I have told before, and some of what you're going to hear tonight is brand new. And I also have somebody who's going to be helping me tell that story, and that's my wife, Erin, and she'll be coming up here real soon. This story begins with my father. And to tell this story properly, which I don't believe I've ever really done before, not in this forum, I think it's important to know who my dad was. And so there was a book that I wrote a couple years ago called The Other Side of Fear, and I just took my thumb out of it, which means I lost my place. This is a book called The Other Side of Fear that I wrote, and it's about my dad, and it's about what I'm about to tell you. It's about this story, and just to help you to get to know my dad a little bit, I hope you'll indulge me for just a minute here. I want to read a little bit about him. This is about my dad. Dad was born in 1949 in Taft, California, but grew up farther north in Folsom. Grandpa, World War II vet, worked as a guard at the local state prison that housed the criminals, whooping it up on a pretty fantastic Johnny Cash album. Grandma said Dad was an active and happy child, but lonely. His only sibling, Jim, was older by 4 years, and they fought often. All of the other kids in the neighborhood were the same age as Jim, leaving Dad in constant search of something to do. By age 4, Billy Heasley, a twinkly-eyed little boy with a round, open face, was well known as a notorious troublemaker and record holder for most flower beds trampled in the county. He was the town's youngest repeat offender, earning him the well-deserved nickname Dennis the Menace. An unusual day for Grandma was when Billy wasn't brought home by either the dog or the police. The dog was a Nazi like that. To rein him in and keep him at the house, Grandpa tethered Billy to one of the clothesline poles in the backyard with a small chain tied around his waist. A glass of water and food at his side kept him hearty while he played. His pet turtle, also fitted with a little chain tied to a stake in the ground, kept him company. A nearby willow tree provided them both with ample shade, if not enough cover from prying eyes. When a report was filed claiming Grandma and Grandpa were abusing Dad, the police showed up. After seeing the setup for themselves and who was tied to it, they agreed it was for the best. When he entered school, Dad was immediately pegged as retarded, which, side note, is not a word I'm a fan of, but it is what they said back then, and sent to a special class away from the other kids where administered alienation taught him everything he needed to know about those who presumed to know what was best for him. Dad's actual problem was school itself. He wasn't stupid. He was just an energetic kid who couldn't be bothered with the rote repetition of busy schoolwork. It was too easy. Once in high school, a particularly frustrated teacher told him, in her estimation, just exactly how stupid he was. Dad got mad and figured he'd show her, and he aced the next test. Naturally, she failed him for cheating. Lesson learned, he went back to not giving school much of his attention and time. He was a trumpet player. To make extra cash as a teenager, he played with the bands at local bars. When he joined the Army during the Vietnam War, he auditioned for and won a spot as a member of the President's Fife and Drum Corps, playing Hail to the Chief and other selections from Nixon's personal soundtrack. Though he loved the music and it kept him from fighting overseas, it was a 3-year stint under the thumb of the ultimate authority of the military, and he hated it. Once, fearing a promotion in rank, he insulted the camp cook and threw a plate of food in his face. He never achieved a rank higher than private. After happily exiting the Army with an honorable discharge at the conclusion of his enlistment, Dad did everything he could to find a way to earn wages without someone else making decisions for him. Jobs working as a teller at a bank or as a co-manager at the recently erected Blackbeard's Family Fun Center in Fresno only confirmed his need for self-reliance. So he started his own business, selling and distributing fish bait wholesale to mini-marts and drugstores across California's Central Valley and throughout the Sierra Nevada mountains. With time, the inventory at Bill's Bait and Tackle expanded to include candy, food, toiletries, soda, alcohol, and cigarettes. And of course, guns. To be honest with you, they were pretty faithless prayers. I didn't think that they were going to do any good, but I didn't know what else to do. And gosh, it's hard to do this in front of this. Hey everybody, Brock Heasley, the writer and director of The Shift here, and I'm out here on the outskirts of Fresno, California, the city where we shot The Shift, surrounded by smoke. I don't know if you can tell, but there's no sky, that's just all smoke. There's fire in the foothills. All of California is on fire right now. My car is right there. It's covered in ash when I got into it this morning. And why am I out here? Why am I out here in front of this empty dirt field with all this traffic raging behind me? I'm out here because I want to talk about darkness. I want to talk about why The Shift is the way that it is. I've been blessed, and I say blessed specifically, to have dark times in my life. And those dark times have given me perspective on God and perspective on life. And it has helped me to see his love and to see his light shine. My father was packing up for the night 3 days before my 12th birthday. This was years ago. 2 men burst in with semi-automatic submachine guns and immediately began firing. The first bullets went right towards him, hit him in the stomach, and he fell to the ground. The next bullets went into the cases, the display cases where all the guns were kept. And as soon as the glass broke, they began quickly gathering the guns into a bag. And then they kept shooting my father as he was lying there on the ground. They didn't want any witnesses. And they made sure of that, shooting him over and over and over again, up and down his body. And then they left. And as you can see where I am right now, there's not a whole lot here. A couple of farmhouses, a highway road that's a lot more active than it was back then. And he was alone, and there was nobody coming. He was shot 13 times. I honestly don't know anybody else who's ever been shot that many times. But he was shot that many times, and he was on the ground, and he had a decision to make about what he was going to do, and whether or not he was going to get up and call 911 or give in to the pain and die. To my father's credit, he got up. He climbed his way to the phone that was hanging on the wall, picked up the receiver, and laid back down. Accidentally, he dialed 411 at first. And so with his legs riddled with bullets, he had to get back up again and redial 911. And he did. And the paramedics eventually got to him, but they had to wait outside for the police to come and secure the scene. And as they were waiting, he was talking to the EMT, a frustrated EMT, who was just trying to get my dad to hang on long enough so the paramedics could come in and save his life. But my dad did not believe that he was going to be living much longer, and so he pled with the man on the phone to call my mom and to tell her that he loved her, and to also give a message to his sons, myself and my brothers, that he loved us too and that we should be good. That was his last message to us. Or it was what he thought it was his last message. As it turned out, my father did live that night. The paramedics were able to save his life. They brought him to the hospital. He was in very bad shape, and he was in the ICU for a week. But 3 weeks after the shooting, he did come home. He could only get around in a wheelchair at first, and then eventually a walker. And then by the end of the year, he was running and playing with us. And the thing that sticks out the most to me about my dad and about how he dealt with that trauma was that he never really was traumatized from it at all, nor did he harbor any bitterness or ill feelings. He had this joke that he would tell. He would talk about the guys that did it, the guys who shot him, and how he just wanted 5 minutes alone in a room with them. Just 5 minutes alone. And it was like a joke he would tell. I knew my dad would never do anything. He never spoke of them otherwise. It didn't change his outlook. It didn't change who he was. It didn't change his willingness to help and to serve others. He was a guy who knew that bad things happened in this world, and then he moved on and tried to learn what he could from them. 8 years later, I get a phone call from my grandfather. I'm serving as a missionary at this time. I'm in Arizona. I haven't seen my dad in 10 months. I get a phone call from my grandpa, and he tells me that it's happened again. 2 men burst into the store that was right here and shot my father. And I knew immediately he was dead. In a way that I didn't know when I was younger. When I was younger, I believed that he would live. But I knew instantly when Grandpa told me that Dad had been shot that was it for him. But I kept hope anyway. And I prayed over the next hour. And to be honest with you, they were pretty faithless prayers. I didn't think that they were going to do any good, but I didn't know what else to do. And gosh, this is hard to do this in front of this. Then my mom called me, and she told me that Dad had died. And I hung up the phone, and I went into my room, and I took off my tie, and I hung it on the rack, and I looked down at my feet, and I squared them up with the closet. I remember that specifically doing that action. And I think it was just a sense of wanting to do something that I had some control over. Wanting to do something that was precise and right. And in that moment, squaring up my feet was that thing, just making them square and perpendicular to the closet. And then I started thinking about the men who had done this, who had killed him. I didn't know them. I didn't know their names. I didn't know their faces. But I started thinking about them, and I got so angry. I was so mad at them because there were 2 men that did this. There was somebody responsible. God didn't do this. 2 men did it. God allowed it to happen. Why, I didn't know. But 2 men had done it. And in that moment, I felt so angry at them. Such frustration. And then, almost immediately, the feeling left. It was gone. Completely. And it was replaced by a peace. A peace that my father was okay. I knew who he was. I knew he was a faithful man. I was pretty confident about where he was. But my thoughts turned again to those men. And I thought about what they had done. And I realized that there was a greater tragedy that had happened that night besides the death of my father. And the greater tragedy was what those 2 men had done to themselves. Physical death is one thing, but the spiritual death that takes place when somebody sins, and a sin of the magnitude that they committed that night, that is the kind of pain that is far greater than any physical pain that we can possibly encounter. I doubt very much that those men realized that night the magnitude of what they had done, or the loss that they had experienced in their soul. But the thing that I did know was that one day they would understand that. One day they would know what they had done, whether in this life or the next. They would be confronted with what they had done. And that would be a very bitter day indeed. And in thinking about that, my anger was replaced with empathy, with sympathy, and even with love. In that moment, I loved the men who killed my father. And I don't say that flippantly. It was a very real thing, and it was so real that it hasn't stopped. I have never, since that night, felt a moment of bitterness or anger. I was blessed with a perspective on what happened that night that has remained with me ever since. And the thing is that I wouldn't have that understanding. I wouldn't have seen that light. God's light shined so bright that night, and it has continued to shine brighter in my life ever since that night. Brighter than it ever did before. And that wouldn't have happened without passing through that kind of darkness. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't take my father back in an instant if that were possible and erase that whole thing. But I can't deny the benefit that it was to me and the way that it has helped me and changed me as a person and made me into so much of what I am now. I'm still growing, but I know that I am so much more than I would have been because of what I passed through and what my family passed through that night. That's why I'm making this film. Those are the stories I want to tell. We are having a very real experience here on Earth. We are passing through trial. There is fire in the foothills. The world is on fire. And the world is also good and great and wonderful. Suffering is awful and terrible, but it is also a glorious thing. And the reason that I am making this film is because I want to talk about that directly. If you've seen the short film, then you know a little bit, but you don't know the half of what we're doing with this thing. Kevin's journey, the story of the shift, is about a man passing through incredible, unbelievable, oppressing darkness. But we're going to tell it in a way. We're going to tell that story in a way that is going to bring light. If you think about the times in your life when you've experienced trial, it's probably, maybe it's not like my story, but you've got your own story. You've passed through something that was difficult, that was hard, that you didn't want to be at all, and you were better for it. I believe that's an important message to bring to people, to show them that even in the worst suffering, even in the worst kind of difficulty, that God is still there. And if we are faithful, He will show us His light. When I come here, that's what I think of. I think of, yes, this is where my father died, but I also think of the greatest blessings that have ever come to me in my life, the greatest light and knowledge. It's the struggle that allows light and hope to be made manifest. And that's all I really wanted to say on this. Beyond the calls for investment and the money we need to make this film and how we're not going to be able to do it if we don't, I hope you understand that it's coming from a very real place. I believe that there's an important message to share with people, that there is a hope that can be had even in the darkest of times. If that is something that you think is important, if you think that that's something that needs to go out there and be shared with people, I hope you'll join us in telling this story and partnering with us. Thanks very much. And that is my story, or at least that's part of my story. And it's not that unique of a story. A lot of people have had things happen in their lives. One of the things that I said in that video is that this is the thing that happened, said something like this anyway, this is the thing that happened that I could not control. And that is what the shift is about. It's about the things that happen to us that we cannot control. Something I talked about, revealed actually last week, that the central metaphor of the shift, shifting, all that shifting is the thing that happens to you that you cannot control. And at that point, the decision becomes, how do you react to it? And having those experiences early in my life, and all of this happened, all of the story that I've told you so far happened in the first half of my life. And when things like that happen, I think that it's our responsibility to learn from them. These are things that God has allowed to happen, or as He's presented to us in order to learn and prepare us for what comes next. And in a lot of ways, what came next for me was more difficult than what you've just heard. In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. But having these shifts happen, this experience with my father, going through that, prepared me for things that came next. One of the biggest ones that I can think of is my wife and I, our second daughter, was born with special needs. And anybody who has a child who has special needs knows that that is a particular challenge. This is my family right here. This is a picture we took this summer. My wife is holding our daughter with special needs right there, and her name is Cammie. And she is 17 years old, but if you saw her, well, you see her right here, you'd think she's probably about 10. And Cammie doesn't have a lot of words she can say, nor is there a whole lot of things that she can do, but she is the sweetest and most pure person I've ever met. And she makes our lives a lot better. That was another shift. And that was one that took some time to process. Unlike with my father, it was something that happened, and then we had to move on. With Cammie, it's something that happened and then happens every day, and it continues. And it's what our life is being with Cammie, which is such a joy, but also comes with it it's a burden as well. And it's important to acknowledge both. That's another shift. Other shifts that have happened for me, and I'm not going to make this like this isn't just a tragedy story, but I think it's important to understand where the shift comes from. It comes from these stories that weren't just stories to me. That this was my life, and I didn't understand why these things were happening, or what the purpose was, or what I was supposed to take away from them. I'm a creative person, and I've been a creative person for a very long time, but I haven't always been a writer, and I certainly haven't always been a filmmaker. When I first started getting kind of my creative juices flowing, I funneled it all into illustration. I thought I was going to be the next great comic book artist, and I went to San Diego Comic-Con and shot my portfolio around and drew comics and did all kinds. For years, that's what I did. None of that worked out. And I pivoted towards writing because I just one day felt like I had these incredible stories and I should probably tell them. So the first thing I ever wrote was this right here. And I wrote this many, many years ago. Story of my dad and the two shootings and the growing up that I did in between. And, it took me 5 years to write it. I was really teaching myself how to write. I had never had an ambition to do so. I'm about 28 years old at this point. I find an agent. I spent a year trying to find an agent. I found this literary agent, this great literary agent who had never not sold a book. Mine was the first book that she never sold. She couldn't find a publisher who knew how to market a story like this. So my agent, still believing in me as a writer, she decided to, she said, write your next book. So I wrote another book. It took 2 years. I wrote another book. My agent read it. She said, wow, this is so much better than your first book. I'm not even going to shop it because I have no idea how to sell this book. And if I can't figure out how to sell this book, then the publishers aren't going to be able to figure out how to sell this book. I'm 7 years down at this point, trying to tell stories and get them out in the world. And the world is telling me, no, stop doing that. But I don't. And I pivot and I entered this contest with DC Comics and I won the contest with some friends of mine. I wrote this comic, my friends drew it, and we got this contract to produce this comic, a year contract to do it. And 1 month later, DC shut down the imprint and our contract was null and void. There were just these series of disappointments that were happening. And I don't know of any creative person who doesn't have these kinds of disappointments. Again, I'm not trying to say that I'm unique, but these are moments in time for me, long moments in time for me, where I'm wondering, what exactly is God's purpose for me? What exactly am I supposed to do? I feel I've got this fire within me. I've got these amazing things that have happened, these stories to tell. How in the world am I supposed to tell them if nobody will let me do it? And and while all this is going on, of course, I have a family, and I'm supporting them with my job, and it's a good job. I'm working as a graphic designer, and I'm working as an art director, and I'm able to buy a house, and we have cars, and so we're very, very blessed. And even while I'm being completely frustrated in everything I'm trying to do creatively on the side. And my wife, I got to work with my wife as well in that job. Part of my job was creating educational videos, and my wife got to be the spokesperson for those, and she was great, and we had a great time doing it. And then one day, this is about 8 years ago. Then one day, our boss comes to us and comes to my wife and says, "We're going to let you go." And then 24 hours later, they let me go too. And so now here I am. Everything I've ever attempted has failed, basically, creatively. And I don't have a job. And my wife doesn't have a job. And we have 3 kids. And what are we going to do at that point? And what is my purpose? Why am I having all these disappointments? And I'll tell you what, that was a difficult time. In a lot of ways, that was more difficult than anything else I've talked about tonight, because I have people who depend on me now, and I can't support them. And I would love to be able to tell you that, hey, we got a job a few months later, but that's just not true. Things did not work out. And I got to a point where I felt totally lost and completely abandoned. And I knew that God cared about me. It wasn't that. It wasn't a lapse of faith. But it was just a questioning of, why is this happening, and what am I supposed to get from it, and what am I supposed to do, and what is the path forward? And I could not figure it out. During this time, I wrote a blog series, and I just chronicling every day like what it was like to be unemployed and have no hope, or rather no idea of what to do next, because I always have a hope, but I didn't know what to hope for. And I've not been able to go back and read those blogs because it's just too much. But I remember some things. I remember one day just walking down the street in my bare feet, and it was hot, and so it would burn my feet, and feeling like for some reason like I deserved that, like I deserved to be uncomfortable. It's ridiculous looking back now, but it was something that it was just this altered state that you're in when you just don't understand why things aren't working out and you don't know what to do. It is a very, very particular feeling, and I'm sure there are other people who can recognize that feeling where you just wonder, what is your life even about? What am I supposed to do? And that feeling is a lot like this.
kicked Brock out, and I asked if I could share this part of the story because I think it provides a unique perspective. As Brock mentioned, we fell unemployed within 24 hours of one another, and I stupidly made the mistake. I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but I looked to the heavens and said, at least this trial will be short because we have to have a roof over our head and we have to eat. These are famous last words. You should never challenge God to the length of a certain trial. But I really did believe that this was going to be quick and dirty, and it might be painful, but it'd be over quickly. He had another idea in mind, and while we never stopped eating and never lost that roof over our head, it took a significant amount of humility to make that happen. About a year after that job loss, I had applied for job after job after job and was getting nothing. Brock had ultimately decided to join a production company, and we were really hoping this would be an opportunity. But in the meantime, we had humbled ourselves and accepted some state aid. Primarily, there was a program happening in the state of California at the time called Keep Your Home California, and it was for people that were in dire straits. And so for a year and a half of that time, that roof over our head came in the sense of mortgage payment on behalf of the state. So the state paid our mortgage for a year and a half. We also decided to fully humble ourselves and accept the offer from the state for food stamps. And that's how we ate, and that's how we kept the roof over our heads. I went back to graduate school at the time, and while I was working as a teaching assistant, I was making peanuts. And Brock and the production company decided that a local haunted house would be the greatest way to not only build the company, but provide some stable income. And we had every hope in the world that this was going to be the thing to get us onto our feet. And so for about 8 weeks, Brock worked around the clock. He was gone more than he was home. I was trying to teach and go to school and take care of 3 little girls. And it was an incredibly taxing and harrowing time. I was taking 3 graduate classes that were kicking my trash. And everything was as hard as it had ever been. And we kept holding out hope that come November, that paycheck would come and we would be able to kind of get back on our path. The haunted house broke even. And so we didn't make any money at all. And as we sat on the floor of the living room, wondering what in the world we do next, Brock turned to me and said, I have this idea for a short film. And that's what I want to do next. I want to make a short film. And I said probably something snarkily to the effect of, I want to make some money, knowing our typical interactions. But he just felt so strongly about this story, about this opportunity. And he kept at it and he kept asking. And finally, I said, okay, fine. Like, if that's what you need to do it and we'll figure it out. He came back to me about a week later and said, so there's this thing about shooting a movie. I can probably get these people to do it for free, but I have to feed them. And at first I said, being a non-movie understander, I said, have them bring their own food. Like, I bring my own lunch to work every day. Like, why do we need to feed them? And he explained to me that time is money on a set, and that if you don't feed them, you can't control the lunch hour, you can't control the time, and it'll get away from you. And he sat me down and said, we need to spend the money to feed these people, and it's probably going to be about $500. And we didn't have it. We didn't have it in our savings. We didn't have it in our checking. And the only place that we did have it was on our EBT food stamp card. And I said no a couple of times. And finally, after praying and thinking about it and spending that time thinking about our options, we decided that we were going to trust. And so we went to Costco and we bought the food Satan steak. That's our contribution to the world. And we spent some of the last $500 that we had in the world. We poured every last resource that we had into the shift. And for a long time, I didn't want Brock to tell that part of the story. There was some pride there. I don't like talking about that time. I don't like talking about the fact that God humbled us all the way to that point. I looked it up, and it's not food stamp fraud. So state of California, don't come for me. But it felt that way almost. It felt like we were, but those were our resources. That's what we had to offer. And we laid it all down on the altar of this project. And for those of you that are watching now, you might think, what a beautiful sacrifice, how wonderful. But that was 7 years ago. And for the next 7 years, we continued to wait and pray and watch and have this crazy belief that this movie meant something and it needed to be created. And we continued to lay things down at the altar of it in the hopes that God would use this story to help some of you. And I was on my way to work the other day. In fact, I blame all of this on Phil Wickham. So Phil, if you're listening, this is your fault. But I was having car church. I don't know if any of the rest of you do that, but Phil Wickham and I were having car church together, and I just could not shake the overwhelming gratitude in my soul that 7 years ago, we took a whim and a chance and spent literally our last dimes to make this project. And now thousands of you are seeing it and getting it and joining us and spending your money, your hard-earned money, your hard-earned time and social media platforms and all of the support that all of you are starting to see what I have always gotten to see up close and personal, that you're starting to understand and catch the vision and know the power that this film has. I was so overwhelmed with gratitude that I just really wanted to share with you that $500 budget that you may have heard Brock talk about was literally our last $500 in the world. But that from that, God has loaves and fished that $500 to the point that we're here now at over $800,000. And I just want you to know, from my family to yours, how incredibly grateful I am for you.
The Shift film is masterful. The Shift is thought-provoking and wonderfully hypnotic, yet strangely eerie, all at the same time.
And I insisted my husband and kids sit down and watch it with me, and we've watched it 100 times since then.
Awesome.
And each time I see it, I am struck with a new truth.
The Shift has provided a visualization of the battle that we as believers fight in the spirit realm.
I've never hurt anybody my whole life.
No, but you have such potential. You're a halfway decent guy. It's the other half I'm particularly fond of, and it takes over in the end.
The concept of The Shift grabbed my attention immediately. It's a story about someone that's just like you and me, who is struggling to do their best and to make the right choices in a world that is often overwhelming.
I love The Shift, and I'm not even a big sci-fi fan.
The sci-fi nerd of me loves how Brock Heasley and the team has melded together elements of The Twilight Zone, Twin Peaks, and M. Night Shyamalan, and has married that with a faith-based film. That has never been done.
We've just never had to prove it this far.
Who's we?
Me and you. Kevin, this isn't the first time we've done all this.
One of the most forward-looking, possibility-expanding new films that just can't go unnoticed.
As somebody that is very interested in sci-fi and fantasy, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Let me give you everything you ever wanted. Just say the word.
When Kevin came to the end of himself, when he was broken and when he was humble, and he knew the only thing he had left was to cry out to his Creator, and he said that prayer, that is when Satan had to flee.
The enemy is causing so much confusion and chaos in the world right now. And it's his goal to convince us that God's doing that instead of him.
In that moment, in the darkness, that is where we can meet God, and that his love will shine through so brilliantly.
And at the same time, the Shift doesn't make it all about the darkness. The film takes off the blinders, and it has the power to help us realize that our Father God's perfect love will never, never, never cause the pain that we're feeling in our lives, and he will never abandon us.
So many can't receive that truth through teaching or preaching, but my hope is that through the masterful storytelling, the beautiful truth-telling, people will see that when we're in the middle of pain, despair is not the only answer, but hope, real hope.
I cannot wait to see how God is going to speak and move in the hearts of both those who believe and those who don't yet.
And to me, that's what makes The Shift so powerful.
The Shift short film is so powerful.
Very powerful message of positivity.
It is not an accident that this film is coming out now. Never have we needed it like we need it now.
This is a film that begs for conversation and introspection, and I really feel like it's a film that I have personally waited for a long time.
Hi, this is Greg. I had a role in the short film The Shift as Tina's father, and now I'm an investor because I want to see what happens next to Kevin in a feature film.
I could not be more excited about jumping on board as both an investor and someone to just help spread the word about what an incredible movie this is.
I truly believe that this is one of those feature films that will help usher in a whole new generation of faith-based cinema.
And that's why I feel The Shift has to be made.
It has to be made.
And I can't wait to see how impactful and powerful it's going to be up on the big screen.
I really believe in the message and the power that lies in this film.
And I just can't wait to see what happens.
And that's The Shift. That's how we have gotten to this point. Of course, I'm skipping over the part where Angel Studios came in and saw this thing and brought it out to the world, but you know that part of the story. But I'll tell you what, when I think back to everything that we've experienced, from my dad to our daughter to losing our jobs to all the different, creative misfires, I'll tell you what, I could not have written this film without all that. I could not have come up with that story without all that. All of that to me is worth it, to be able to tell this story in this way. As a younger man, I was not capable of coming up with this story. And so it is, it is often said that everything happens for a reason. I violently disagree with that. I don't think that that's true. What I do believe is true is that everything can have happened for a reason, and that it is our job to figure out what that reason is. And so it's often in hindsight that we understand. And in hindsight, all of this seems very clear. Living through it is a very different experience. And that's the experience that Kevin has, is that he's living through something and he doesn't understand what the end point is. He doesn't even understand what the point of it is in the middle of it. And that is an emotion that we understand very, very well, and that I know that many of you do as well. And that's why I think this film will be able to connect with people. Not just believers, but anybody. Everybody understands what it's like to not understand at all what in the world is going on and what the point of it is. Melanie said, I cannot wait for this. God is all over this film. I know it, and I'm honored to be an investor 3 times over. Thank you, Melanie. And I'd do it a 4th and a 5th. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Justin, are you still with us?
I'm with you. And, I hate to be the one to rain on the parade and all this, puppies and bunnies and heartfelt emotion. All this is great. But if it doesn't lead to a quality movie, what's the point, right? And that is the ultimate goal here, is to make this not just a passion project. It is a passion project, yes. But it's also about assembling the right team and getting the recognizable actors and creating a production that can open on theater screens. That isn't just going to be something that we're peddling on DVDs at conventions and whatnot. And that's not to disparage anybody from doing something like that. Creators, go out and create. Look what Brock did with food stamp money. And look where he's at now. It all starts with something small, and now we're taking that small piece and trying to make it into something pretty significant. And so if you believe in the project, again, this goes beyond Brock and Aaron's story. And look, I parallel a bunch with their story. I'm not going to get into it tonight, but there's tragedy, heartbreak, and a lot of adversity in my past as well. And that's not reason to invest in a project, but it's extra motivation, I feel like, to believe in the people that are doing it. And I believe in Brock and Aaron, and I believe in this team that we're putting together. And if you agree, angel.com/theshift. You can learn more about it. Maybe you're not even committed to invest right now. You go to angel.com/theshift. Your wallet isn't going to be opened up by just going to the website. Go there, meet the rest of the team. Dallas Jenkins, creator of The Chosen. Many of you know who he is. And, just a number of other projects that Angel has going on. Maybe The Shift isn't the project for you. Check out the other Angel projects. We're trying to do something here, bring more light into the world. So angel.com/theshift. Again, if you commented tonight, you are eligible to win some merch. Aaron, I heard we're giving away the full-size Lancer tonight. Is that accurate, or did I get...
That is accurate. I will ship it to you personally.
This is a project about truth, and right now we're telling people lies.
I will deliver it to you.
No. Phil stays.
His name is not Phil.
His name is Phil.
No.
We have named him, and his name is Phil.
No.
Phil the Lancer.
No.
No.
Anyway.
Phil is what you did when you stuffed him full of whatever you stuffed him with, right?
Yes.
It's actually like a mannequin underneath. He's awesome. He's awesome. We need a lower half. That we need a full stand.
I hate that
size. For those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, if you watch our past live streams, the past few, I usually have this Lancer from the movie like behind me. This mannequin that we've got. There you go. One of those guys. Yeah, we've got him like mounted.
Brock is trying desperately to move the Lancer into the house so that it lives in the house with us, and I am desperately trying to move it farther away than the garage.
There is nothing farther away than the garage.
It could be at your house.
No.
Well, I don't think we're giving away the Lancer tonight. Maybe that's a future live stream. Aaron, we'll communicate and see if we can't pull that off. Another reminder that we're asking for some video submissions. That was a little jumbled. Anybody that has invested in this shift, go ahead and take your phone out. Landscape mode is preferred. And give us a 3-minute video. And then go to wetransfer.com, select Get Transfer Link, and then send us that link either through our Facebook page or our Instagram page. And we'll use some of that footage and make something somewhat similar to what you saw after Aaron came on with a bunch of our early supporters, certainly some familiar faces in there for those of you that have been following the shift for some time now. So we would love to get some submissions like that DM'd to our Facebook or our Instagram page. 3 minutes or less preferred. 3 minutes. How do I do? I feel like I just did that now. That's some kind of a supposedly bad symbol. I regret that immediately that I did that, but please let it be on the record. I mean nothing.
Sign language for 3. You're good.
Yeah, but it's also something else.
Only if you put it a different angle. It's fine.
Okay, good. In today's, this might be something too. In today's world, I just want to be super careful that nobody is going to take something out of context and call me something that I'm not. That's the social media world that we live in. Hey, follow us on social media at The Shift Film on Facebook. Oh no, at Shifty Film on Facebook, at The Shift Film on Instagram, where we're probably doing something inappropriate.
Did you see your tag, Justin?
Monster. Yes. I would prefer the umlauts over, so it's monster instead of monster. But I'll take what I can get.
Well, hey, I know we're a little over time right now, but I feel like we should take at least a few questions. I know there have been some. Ryan, do we have a few questions we want to toss up? Okay, here we go. Becky says, do you think this will be in theaters? If so, do you have a timeline?
Where will it be, Brock?
Aaron always makes fun of me for the way that I say the word that is spelled Thear, or no, Theater. So now I'm self-conscious and I won't say it. But Becky, I am pleased to report that The Shift is headed for cinemas, and we're hoping to release it in fall of 2023. We're actually going to be rolling camera in January of next year, and that's a little bit of an ambitious schedule, so don't hold me to that. But needless to say is that the whole team's intent is to get this film out as quickly as possible. But
to theaters?
to cinemas, and we are looking at a wide release. So that is the intent. That's what we're headed for. This is Angel Studios' first feature film. They're not gonna small time this. Okay, so we're going there. We're going as big as we can with this thing.
To theaters.
To cinemas. Yes. Justin, this one's for you.
Yeah, is there Shift merch and where can we get some? Melissa, that's a tremendous question. We have an early run of merch that we are now giving away in contests. Anytime you comment, so you're eligible for it. Maybe our live stream team has already chosen a winner. Maybe it's you, Melissa. Wouldn't that be a surprise? But yeah, there's talks about getting something new in the pipeline. Can I say that yet, Brock? I mean, nothing is official,
I think that's fair to say.
but we've definitely had conversations about it.
We're working.
It is on our radar. It's something that we would like to do. Full scale Lancer is not on the radar, as far as I know.
Can it be like a
But maybe
stretch
a mini.
goal? Like you invest 100,000, you get a Lancer.
No, you can't say things like that. The lawyers are going to come after us if you start saying things like that. Create new perks.
So,
you
to
invited
some,
me here.
Melissa, nothing you can go, Melissa, nothing you can go purchase at the moment, but stay tuned to our social medias. If something becomes available, yes, we will definitely keep you informed and let you know about that. But again, you're eligible to maybe win something tonight. Thomas B says, is there a possibility of the movie having cameos from the actors who performed in the short? I just love the portrayals in the short film. Thomas, I'm there with you. I was commenting to Brock the other day how I just have, and the more I watch clips from the short, the more in love with these original actors I become. They are so endearing. So Brock, is there a possibility of any of them? And, being that you pronounce theaters incorrectly, should I say, is there a possibility of them having cameos in the feature?
Or cameos?
Thomas, I would say that yes, that is a distinct possibility, although not this one, because I think that I need to maintain leadership and control over the set, and I believe that if she is there, I will lose it very quickly.
Hey now.
But yes, Thomas, I think that is a distinct possibility. I would be shocked if that doesn't happen. Let's put it that way.
I want to push a broom across the background.
Except you would be looking at the camera the whole time.
That's not true. I'm a professional.
Any other questions for us? How can we pray for you? Melissa, another great question. I'll just respond frankly first. When I worked on The Chosen, that was a common question, and my response was consistently pray for humility and pray that we do what God is calling us to do through all of this. If He doesn't want this to be X number of dollars, then let's not strive for that. Let's do it for the budget that He wants it to be done for. If He wants it that theatrical, a long-winded way of saying we just want to do what is destined. That's a terrible word. Brock would give me a hard time for that.
Yeah,
we just want to do what God is calling us to do. Okay, we just want to obey and be obedient to what God is calling us to do with this project. So that's my prayer request, is to remain humble and obedient.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I feel very strongly that this is a film that's supposed to be made and it's supposed to go out there. And I mean, if I didn't feel like God wanted that, I wouldn't be doing this at all. So I would say to the side of that, we pray that the right, I think especially right now because we are casting, we pray that the right actors can come and join themselves with this project, because that's going to make a huge difference as to the quality of the film, as to how many people see it, Like you guys get so excited when we announce a new cast. Well, anybody coming to this ship for the first time, that's the first thing they're going to look at is, well, who's starring in it, And so having the right people who can bring these characters to life and intrigue those who don't know anything about the shift today, that I think is what's on my mind the most. That's certainly what we're working on the most behind the scenes. And so so that would be a great specific right now prayer that we could use.
And pray for harmony between Brock and his supreme commander to his side there, that they can come to terms with what they do with Phil the Lancer. Right?
His name is Josh.
I just pulled that out of nowhere.
I did not. His name is Josh.
Never has said that
and
before, right? Yeah.
Loves Phil.
I'm telling you, I feel like Ryan and Angel could work for The Bachelor. Like, no one does better names than Ryan.
Big time shout out to the live stream crew too. Ryan, Esther, who else is there tonight? Feel free to whisper in my ear. Is Nate there tonight? Garrett, thank you guys so much. You guys really they do this for more than just the shift. They're doing this for a tremendous amount of live streams, and they're always on point, always just at the top of their game. So big props to all of them. And let me reiterate one other thing too. Okay, the shift. Yes, there are faith elements within the shift. We're not going to market and saying, hey, here's the next God movie. This is going to be a broad market. Can I say that? This is going to be a mass market.
Can that be the tagline now?
Something about the way you said it. You cracked us up. But no. Yeah, keep on with what you're saying, because yes.
Now I'm self-conscious about what I'm talking about theatrically.
I fully support your line of thought. No, here, look. Yes, go ahead. You were saying it. I don't want to interrupt.
We want this to be a broad release. We want this to be appealing. We don't want it to alienate anybody. We want people to come watch this movie because it looks like a doggone good movie. That's what I'm getting to more than anything else. So take that for what it's worth. And I did see a question come in asking, when will the investment round close? So Brock, real quickly touch upon that, and then we can probably wrap things up here.
Yeah. So the investment round is going to close very, very soon. And for legal reasons that I cannot fathom, I can't actually tell you out loud what the date is. But you can go to angel.com/theshift, and you'll see it right there at the top of the page. Don't ask me. I don't make these rules, but it's not long. So waiting is a bad idea.
Do we have a winner?
We're already in trouble because of Aaron, quote unquote, saying that we're going to give away the wrong perk. So why don't we just Yeah, but it's true. Right. Don't delay. It's better to if you're thinking about doing it, do it now. There's we don't have full control over when it ends, but yeah, angel.com/theshift.
Well, no, we have full control over when it ends because we set an end date. We can't change that. We just can't say what that date is. I don't understand the
law.
At least this particular law. Other laws I understand. I do not kill people. But the end date you can find out at angel.com/theshift.
This got weird.
This got really weird. Oh, hi, Cammie. Cammie's decided to bid for this. Should we have Cammie say hi? Sure, Cammie. We've talked about you tonight. Why don't you come and say hi? Come here. This is Cammie, who we talked about earlier tonight.
Can you say hi?
Say hi. Yeah, that's you. That's you. No. I don't know why our kids are in here all of a sudden.
I don't know. It wouldn't be alive with me if things didn't go awry, though.
Yeah.
Okay, who's our winner?
In just a minute, okay? Take your sister, please. Thank you. Okay, our winner tonight is Ruth Eileen Harper. Thank you so much for submitting your comment. Thank you for being a supporter of the Shift. You have just won some free Shift merch. All you have to do...
You have to be really careful saying that fast.
You do. All you have to do, Ruth, is message us, DM us on our Facebook page, and we'll connect with you there and get your info. But congratulations to Ruth.
Whoop, whoop.
Next week, October 11th, our next live stream. If we didn't get ourselves into trouble tonight, we're probably going to get ourselves into a little bit of trouble next week, because next week is all about responding to our critics. And that's literally the face that we make at some of the comments that we see come in. And next week is all about, look, there will be some humorous opportunities, but our goal isn't to just spotlight imbecilic comments. It is to actually
That's very judgy.
Well, to try to just, I know it's a one-sided conversation because the comment is there and here's Brock's and my response. Maybe Aaron will join us again. I don't know. But for the most part, it at that point is a one-sided conversation. But if you're going to say something publicly online, you have to be willing to receive the retort. And so we're just going to lay it all out on the line and give some perspective as to why things are the way they are in some cases, why things aren't the way they are, and why we think we can pull off what we're trying to do here with this project. All right, there you're laughing at loves critics and professional critic. Yeah, to be clear, every critical comment we respond to is Aaron's, so there is that.
I wish, Justin, I was as clever as some of the nonsense people have written.
For real, yeah. For real. Oh, Janice, I totally agree. It was so great to see Cammy, and Cammy made a cameo. Can I say that?
There we go. Yeah.
All right, everybody. I think we're about done. Thank you again so much. And yeah, let's do this simultaneously, Brock. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I didn't know what we were saying.
I didn't know
Thanks
either. That's what was funny about it.
Night.
Angel.com/theshift. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
It's a test.
For every choice you make, there are countless other realities where you make different choices. Imagine the power to move one person from one reality to the next.
You can do that?
Just say the word.
You tell me! Where did everybody go?
When are you finally going to wake up and realize he doesn't take care of his own?
What do you know about me?
You're a fiend, a crook, a liar. Your goal? Misery.